Hey everybody, my name's Rhyne Curitan, or you can call me Pork Rhyne, here at the farm, Perma Pastures Farms, and I've never seen the chicken tractor on steroids before. This is my first time being here. I'm looking forward and I'm super excited to learn more about this alternative system to farming. So stay tuned and find out how my experience goes, and Master Pimp Daddy, Billy, being able to educate me on what he's doing here at the farm.
All right, today, week 6, chicken tractor on steroids. We got our week 1 pile. All we're gonna do is go back and do everything we did last week, but I'm gonna throw in a few little tricks in case your chickens aren't really taken to the new piles yet. Very simple, easy to do kind of things. But today's gonna consist of moving the net, breaking down the cage, building it, reassembling it, and then we're gonna decide, because we lost a lot of this compost in the high grass that was around here. So it's not exactly a cubic yard. So we're gonna find out whether or not we wanna turn this into that, which means calling an audible. So with that, it's time to get to work. Okay, so just like last week, nothing to it. Just the bedding from the inside with all of the poop and everything in it, which we kind of add a little bit more every day. And just to add a little more material, because I haven't gone out and gotten wood chips or anything. This is that store-bought bag of more of the shavings, of the fine shavings. And Ryan, what you got there?
So I have beautiful, black, illustrious biochar.
That's right. Biochar is going to go in here next. We're going to get a little bit of that compost that we got from the last pile. What's over there?
We've got coffee grounds and food scraps.
Now remember, folks, because of the experience that we have making this sort of thing, I know that this thing is carbon heavy. And this stuff is somewhere about ratio 300 to 1.
So here we have some nice, beautiful biochar. The great thing about biochar is it acts as not only as a source of minerals, both macro and micro minerals, it also is a purifier. So the way that the carbon structure is designed within biochar allows for it to absorb a lot of toxins. So even humans can use biochar for detoxing if they want to. So it'll work really great within a chicken's diet.
And of course, the coffee grounds are going to add more of the nitrogen we need. We'll add a little bit of water, put on the food scraps, and it's off to the races for these guys on this part.
Alright, so now we're going to combine these two compost piles because the first one got too small. We lost it in high grass. And we need to maintain a minimum of 1 cubic yard so that way it's big enough to house the necessary microbes for it to decompose. We're going to combine this second week pile with the first week pile and make one big pile.
Here we are, everything's done. And with the help of my man right here, it got done in record time. So what do you think about the first time out with the chicken tractor on steroids, bro?
I love how Billy focuses on making sure that whatever he does, that's an integrated system, but also the important thing is that it's a system that complements his lifestyle and what he's doing, right? Being able to take the chicken litter from inside the chicken tractor on steroids, easily can gather it together, flip it out onto the tarp, then put the chicken litter from the tarp into a ring pile for composting. Super simple, easy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have tried doing something similar and it got complicated, but with what Billy's got going on with the chicken tractor on steroids, really impressed by his design. Also, really impressed by how Billy is very in tune with the chickens and their natural nature. Being able to see, oh, okay, if I put feed around, that will encourage them to do something that they're already doing, right? So chickens are very well known for scratching. And Billy's using this scratching technique to make a compost pile that was somewhat anaerobic to being more aerobic, right? And for those of you who know anything about composting, the last thing you want is anaerobic compost, right? Not enough oxygen is coming in, meaning it's more fungal rather than bacterial, and it won't break down the same way, right? And so it's really nice to see how Billy is incorporating all these things using his big brain to find farming solutions for everybody.
You know, before we got started on this, I made the case that I think that if more people did this, if every community had something like this. Now, in this particular case, you could use it as we've done before to grow eggs, but in this particular case, we're doing this to grow meat birds, which hasn't been done before, at least not to my knowledge. I'm thinking that this could potentially be something that could go a long way in feeding the world when you consider all the food that comes out of grocery stores. I know personally because that's where I get this stuff. All this stuff that's going in the grocery stores and ultimately into landfills. Do you think this is potentially, I mean, are we at the precipice of something that could potentially be used as a means to feed America, I dare say the world?
I think you're on the right
ambition,
track.
huh?
I think you're on the right track, and that's the cool thing about it. If you look at this perimeter, this is not an acre, it's not even half an acre, not even a tenth of an acre, right? So it's very economical, I believe, for a lot of people, being able to use food waste rather than buying conventional feed. And some of you know things about conventional feed and have distaste towards it, especially with the usage of fertilizers and pesticides for some conventional feed. Also, being able to say, I can save money, right? Chickens can consume a lot of feed, but if you're using food waste, not only are you breaking this food cycle or looping this food cycle back into where it needs to be, instead of this going to landfill like you talked about, it's providing nutritious, beautiful chickens that will help for not just your family, but for anyone's family in reality.
And in reality also, you could take something that's scaled like this, folks, and even if you're in a neighborhood, we may be in 1/20th of an acre right in this, within this net. So if you did have several communities, let's say neighbors or people that had joint land that they were in on, this is honestly, we've done it before already, folks. This is our second time out. The biggest thing we're trying to prove in this time out is that it can be done better, that you can produce even more compost and even more meat in the same system. So I'm hoping that maybe part of the impetus of doing this channel, I think, is realizing that there is the impetus out there that somebody could say, hey, you know what, these guys were able to do this. Maybe I can tweak it this way, move it this way. Maybe this will work in my neighborhood. You know, it would have to be, it ain't going to happen in an HOA.
No.
So maybe some people out there could take all of their scrap materials, maybe you got down trees or limbs, whatever carbon source you may have, combine this along with, let's say, the neighbor or the restaurant down the street potentially has a bunch of food scraps that are ordinarily going to go to the landfill. I'm wondering if somehow communities could take all these easy to find resources, put them together in something that works, and maybe when it's all said and done, we should have somewhere in the neighborhood of 225, 250 pounds worth of food. How far could that go with just a few families combining resources if that's what you need to do?
And that's the beautiful thing about your idea, Billy, is that it can be more than just an idea. It can be an actual reality. I think some of the barriers to that are actually not really in terms of resources. It's in terms of can you work with your neighbor? And that's an important thing. Are you able to cooperate? Forget farming for a second real quick. What's important is having a cooperative spirit, right? Being able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm good at something and my neighbor's not. How can I be a resource for them? Maybe my neighbor's good at something that I'm not. How can they be a resource for me? It's not manipulation. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's being able to say, I am a value, my neighbor is a value. What can we do in partnership, especially if we were limited resources, to be able to still succeed and thrive? A lot of success really comes from collaboration and partnership, right? You got some people who say, oh, I did it all on my own, right? But in the background, they had plenty of people working behind the scenes. Same thing would apply for this, right? We're working together to be able to see what we can do to provide healthy, nutritious food, not just for one family, but a particular community. And that's the important thing about that.
This good man is a wealth of knowledge, and speaking of value, I can't wait to get him on the front porch and talk about all of the wonderful resources. Because of this good man, I truly learned the value of minerals and how to acquire them and how to incorporate all that stuff in here. But he wears a few hats, folks, and you are going to benefit greatly when you hear what he does for a living and all the different hats he wears and how he can help apply his skill, his knowledge, his abilities, put all that to work for people like us within this community. So until next time, my man, which is going to be about 20 minutes from now.
And I can't wait to get out of the sun for a little bit.
That's right. This is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion.
And this is Pork Rhyne Curitan.
That's right. We'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.